Welcome to The Prisoner's Dilemma, a show where we watch and talk about the 1960s TV show The Prisoner. I'm Brendan, and with me is my regular co-host, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oui. Comment tu trouves, Brendan?
Now, this is already 100% more French than I heard when I was listening to Napoleon Bonaparte earlier. Can you account for that somehow?
Yeah, he was originally a Nazi, and they hurriedly realized that would be terrible.
Interesting. How can you account for the fact that they didn't realize sooner that maybe putting Nazis into the show would be terrible?
I don't know, man. It was the 60s.
What I love is that it is not merely that he was supposed to be a Nazi and the rest of them would be Hitlers, like a little lineup of Hitlers.
Yeah. Really cute.
No, that's what it is. You know what? That's what I love about it, is that it's not like, oh, and the rest of them are dressed as stormtroopers or Luftwaffe or whatever, or schnitzels or whatever. I don't know German. But that they would each individually be a different Hitler.
Yeah, it's the reverse secret Hitler. One schnips, the rest of them are Hitlers. Oh, man.
This week, against our will, we watched The Girl Who Was Death.
Ooh, spooky.
An episode of The Prisoner, despite all outward appearances.
Look.
Yeah?
We're nearly
please.
at the finale.
We're nearly at the finale, and I think you could feel that this whole prisoner thing maybe tested the limits.
Brendan, in any shonen anime, before you go after the big bad, which is of course number one in this case, what do you have to have? You have to have a beach episode. This is the Prisoner's beach episode.
No, what about the episode that actually took place on the beach?
There's so many episodes that take place on a beach. If you're regularly on a beach, you have to leave the beach for the beach episode.
I'm not convinced.
Okay, well, I have the rest of the podcast recording to convince you.
Okay. No, you know what? I can't compose myself. This sucks so bad. Here's what I was going to say. I am so glad that we've done a number of bonus episodes.
Yep.
And our very first one was taking a look back at the show that started off, Danger Man, called Secret Agent United States.
That's really important for this one.
It really is important. And it was really important, I think, for me to get a sense of where Danger Man started, where Danger Man went, and what it eventually wound up becoming.
Yes.
You can see that it was sort of an awkward little attempt at a spy show, turned into a pretty darn good spy show, and then became literally just cultural slapstick by the end of it. Yeah. How it really just overstayed its welcome and wound up leaning really into this idea of like secret spy layers and big explosive threats and weird permutations of other people's culture in ways that don't really make sense.
Yeah.
And certainly we've seen little bits and pieces of that throughout this little show that we love and love to call The Prisoner. But gosh, when we say that this is just an episode of Danger Man, it is literally an episode of Danger Man.
It's interesting, right? It is explicitly a parody of Danger Man, basically. David Tomblin, right, who's the director and who was, basically the partner of McGowan for doing The Prisoner, or turned out to eventually be like his closest ally, right? He originally had the idea for this episode while they were making Danger Man. And they ended up giving the episode to Terrence Feely to actually write it out, right, for Prisoner.
Here's the thing. I get what you mean when you say a parody episode, where you're taking like the form of the thing and like kind of making fun of it a little bit.
Oh, a lot of it.
Doing some little goofs with what would ordinarily happen in the thing. Kind of like doing a little wink and a nod about how the thing works with the audience. Aren't parody episodes usually funny?
This is funny. We'll get. It may not work for you. It's that British sense of humor.
I'm primed. I'm here. I'm ready. I was raised like so many people of my generation. It's time of recording, May 4th. This one goes out to the nerds. This one goes out to all the freaks and geeks out there.
Uh-huh.
All of the Bing Bong brothers out there. I was raised on a diet of Hitchhiker's Guide and Monty Python.
Sure.
I'm primed to laugh at this. And you know what? There's a couple pretty funny things in here. I think the bit where he's like slapping the hands of his little Napoleon Grand Army guys, that's pretty funny. Does it make any sense? No. But it is a little bit funny.
Do you not like the "you have just been poisoned"?
That is probably number one with a bullet. That's mine. Welcome to a parody of The Prisoner's Dilemma, where we do our segments out of order. Matthew, what's your number one with a bullet?
No.
Yo, you're doing it.
Oh my God.
I'm holding you hostage. I've administered poison to you.
Oh no, I've been poisoned. I think I'm actually going to give it to Justine Lord, who played Sonia / number 17.
Jesus.
She's having fun.
I don't know if I'm allowed to veto your number one with a bullet.
You're the one who made me do it at the beginning.
All right, well, you have the rest of this episode to reconsider your decisions.
I see. That was like a temporary one, and eventually we're going to have to lock in.
I mean, it is now.
Okay. Should I do the summary, or is this not yet? Should we talk about the whole episode and then I do the summary?
If you're not watching the show, I get it.
Yeah.
But I've got to really stress that, like, this is an episode that plays the intro to you're in the village, and then it just launches into a different show. It is literally as if you are watching a different spy thriller of the time, intercut with these weird little things of, like, looking at a book. I'm probably stepping on the summary a little bit here, but, like,
that's fine.
It really is framed in a completely different way than any episode of The Prisoner has been up to this point. And I will say this. I'm a stone cold hater. Hating's me code. I was born hating and I'll die hating. But I do appreciate at least that they're like, you know what? We can mess with the format here a little bit. Let's try something else out.
Yeah.
Matthew, tell us what happens in The Girl Who Was Death.
Of course, I'd be delighted to tell you about it. This episode has a story.
I'm sorry. You're going to tell everyone else what happened. I'm going to switch headphones and listen to some loud music so I don't have to hear it over again.
My gosh. This
Audience, I'll see you in a moment.
This episode.
Matthew, you can go ahead and get started.
This episode has a storybook framing, starting or ending scenes with the close-ups of children's book illustrations. We first see a game of cricket, where a mysterious figure replaces the cricket ball with an explosive, which then kills the batter. We then meet John Drake, sorry, I won't do that again, Patrick McGowan's spy character who will go unnamed throughout the episode. He meets with Potter, so maybe I wasn't wrong to call him Drake, after all, to get his orders to track down a mysterious scientist, Schnips, who the cricket batter had been after, before Schnips can use a rocket to destroy London. McGowan's character plays the same game of cricket, but catches and throws the explosive ball, finding a hint leading him to his local pub. At the pub, McGowan's character drinks a pint to reveal the message, "You have just been poisoned," on the bottom of the glass. He makes himself sick with drink to remove the poison, and in the bathroom discovers another hint. He follows this hint to a Turkish bath, then to a boxing match, then to a tunnel of love, then all across a local carnival. He finally manages to catch sight of the woman, leaving him these hints, who introduces herself as Death, but who will later be called Sonia, the daughter of Schnips. Sonia leads McGowan's character through a series of booby-trapped rooms and finally tries to blow him up with a rocket launcher. Thinking she succeeded, she departs to meet her father. Schnips turns out to be obsessed with Napoleon, justifying his desire to destroy London and take over the whole United Kingdom. McGowan's character takes out one of his guards, donning his outfit, and through a series of hijinks dispatches the remaining guards and then Sonia and Schnips. The episode ends to reveal that number 6 was improvising the story based on the illustrations for some children in the village, put up to it by number 2 and 17, who he had casted as Schnips and Sonia in the story. The episode ends with McGowan turning towards the camera and the watching 2 and 17 and saying, "Good night, children, everywhere."
Now, I hate to correct you.
Oh?
But John Drake does not go on this adventure. John Drake is killed by the explosion in the cricket match.
Oh no, you got it the other way around. John Drake is the guy, the pitcher. He's the guy throwing the ball.
Oh, I see. See, the camera work there is so shoddy that I couldn't tell which was which.
No, yeah. John Drake survives.
Well, bully for him.
Brennan wishes he was the one who got exploded by a cricket ball.
I wish. Hey, do you know how to play cricket?
Yes, in theory.
Yes, in theory.
I've never played it, but I know the rules.
Can you tell us what the rules are?
Yeah, so it's sort of like, imagine baseball. You know baseball?
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of baseball.
Okay, imagine baseball.
Sorry. For non-American listeners, can you describe? Can you describe?
You bastard!
Can you describe what baseball is, just to make sure we've got that on the record?
In baseball, imagine a diamond. Are you imagining a diamond?
Yeah, I'm picturing one of the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, the good. Okay. Imagine there was a tiny Chow sending an energy ball to you at one point of the diamond.
And then you run really fast around the Chaos Emerald.
Just like Sonic. It's just like Sonic in a bonus stage.
Yeah, live and learn. Got it. Okay.
So
how is
like
cricket different from that?
It only has 2 bases, 2 points of the diamond. So it's like a line instead of a diamond.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to anytime, bud.
Number 1 with a bullet.
What?
Oh, do we have other stuff to talk about?
Oh my God, Brendan. Okay. I think there's some fun stuff to talk about in this episode.
Sure.
So the whole cricket match is fine. It's nothing. We could just sort of zoom past that. I actually honestly do like that the episode starts with us getting like an illustration, right? It's just like a bunch of kids. It's basically like It's a Small World ride illustration. And then it flips to a cricket match.
Yes.
Right? And then we're in the cricket match, right? That's kind of fun. And it is, as you mentioned, the case that the bowler, who's what they call in cricket, the pitcher is the bowler. The bowler is John Drake, the actor named John Drake, not John Drake, the character that Patrick McGoohan played.
Right.
This John Drake was in 8 episodes of our favorite, The Adventures of Robin Hood, with Derwent the Joiner.
All right, you know what? It's all worth it.
That was why we had to watch everything we did. It was for Derwent the Joiner and Adventures of Robin Hood. And then we have Pat Halpin, right, who is Colonel Hawk English. So he's the guy who's the batter, right?
Sure.
He was a TV actor with various one-off roles, and he was previously a village official in It's Your Funeral. And then we have Christopher Benjamin, who's the scorekeeper.
Seen him before.
We've seen him a lot, right? He was number 22, number 26. He was the labor exchange manager. He was number 2's assistant. And for those who suffered with us through the 2 episodes of season 4, series 4 of Danger Man, he's Potter. And in this episode, he's Potter.
That's right. The boy who lived.
He's basically the same character.
He is.
He's really bad at his job. He dispenses John Drake on missions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fun, I think.
It is. It makes it abundantly clear what it is that they're doing, right?
Yes.
It's not merely like, oh, what if we pretend to do an episode of Danger Man? It is an episode of Danger Man.
Yes. And it's also the case the way they even dress Six, right? Or Patrick McGoohan, sorry. The way he's dressed in this episode, like when he goes up to Potter at his little shoe shine thing, right, to get his missions, he's wearing like a rain jacket and like the same little cap that we've seen him wear before.
Right.
So it's a very John Drake outfit. He's talking to Potter. He's calling him Potter, right? It is what it is, right?
Right.
And I think that at this point, it would be worth thinking, you might not like the episode, but it is worth thinking about the effect this episode would have on people watching The Prisoner as it was releasing, right?
Sure.
Because this one was broadcast in this same order. So it would have been the episode before what people would be aware of as the final 2 episodes. Right. That was known. So everybody assumed in the final 2 episodes they were going to get a reveal. And everybody was assuming the reveal was going to be, this guy's John Drake.
Right. Something they've been very, very stubborn to be like, no, he's not really John Drake. We're gesturing at all these things that suggest he's John Drake, the character you know and love from 10 years of spy fiction.
And so the fact that they put this episode here and they're just like so obviously being like, it's John Drake, it's John Drake, it's John Drake. Everybody who was watching at the time would be like, I see what you're doing. The McGowan doth protest too much. And like, it's clearly seeming like it's setting up the final 2 episodes to reveal that this was John Drake all along, right?
It would seem that way.
Yeah. And I think if nothing else, that's a really interesting thing for this episode to have done, right? Yeah,
I can get on board with that. I think that's, I don't know if that justifies the entire episode, but I think it's a mark in the pro column. Yes.
Yeah. And you know, we can't fully talk about that until we actually talk about this final 2 episodes, but I did want to like put a big landmark for it here.
Sure, totally.
So the other thing that I kind of like about, and the reason why I put number 1 with a bullet as Sonia, Justine Lord, number 17, is she's basically haunting the episode.
She is haunting the episode. She is this, say more.
So she's at the cricket match, obviously, right? But then when McGowan's character gets like the information from Potter with his little like shoe shine phone that he has, we see at first that all of like behind them, it's a shop called Lady M, which is itself kind of funny, right? Because 007's boss is M, right? But in there's a whole bunch of mannequins, right? At first, when you first see it. But when we go back as McGowan's character is leaving, suddenly one of them is Sonia, right? And this like there's this consistent thing of her basically doing magic or like witchcraft the whole time.
Yeah, she's this interesting white-clad figure that seems to both menace and play with number 6 the entire way through.
Yeah.
I wonder if perhaps she's not a manifestation of Rover instead of number 17.
It could be.
She's kind of like, what if my dog was this sexy lady?
No. I mean, she is dressed all in white, right? She billows. She has like stuff that billows behind her, very much like Rover. She has magic.
Yep. She represents this sort of like bizarre things just sort of happen around her.
Yeah. She can hypnotize, right?
Because she wants them to happen. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. But more generally, right, I just think it's kind of fun to have like, what if Drake was against a witch? Like, that's just kind of fun for me. I think it doesn't do a great job of setting up like, I think the things that she can do are not well rendered. I think the way that the show is shot and portrayed and, to be frank, written don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, for example, this whole bit with her taking the place of the mannequin. The fact that he's in front of a mannequin shop, honestly, I did not even notice this as part of the thing. And they don't gesture to it at all during their conversation, such that I had to put together, oh, she's pretending to be a mannequin in the shop that's nearby. I guess that's relevant. And like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, I didn't notice it. And so clearly the show is bad. But I will say I'm someone that's watching this with a very deliberate eye for what the prisoner is doing. And if I'm not picking up on it, I think that's indicative. There's plenty of stuff that happens later where it's like, well, this just sort of comes across as like convenient rather than her using some sort of surreal power. You know what I mean? Sure. There's only really one scene that's like fully explicitly she's using weird surreal power.
Right.
So there's a couple other things to really quickly mention in this scene before we just jump past it. One, I'm going to do the same thing that they do for Death Blart. If you're not familiar,
watch it once a year, every year until you die.
Yeah. If you're not familiar, there's a podcast called Till Death Do Us Blart where they watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 once a year till they die. It's a great show.
When do they watch it?
Where do they watch it? Thanksgiving.
No. So for folks that aren't in America, what's Thanksgiving?
Oh my God. So once long ago, Indigenous Americans saved a bunch of dumb European people, and we have a holiday about it.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah. When the earth was new. And dinosaurs ruled the land.
When dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Anyway, I'm gonna call out the things that I thought were funny. So Potter has a little bit here where McGowan comes up and says something about, oh, how are you doing, Potter? And he goes, it's our version of Siberia, because he's having to like clean people's shoes, and the idea that that's equivalent to the Russians like gulags is really good.
Yeah, like I think that lands better if you're used to seeing Potter week after week after week doing peculiar job as a convenient point of contact.
But notably, we didn't get that. Remember, in series 4, he shows up once ever as an ambassador, and that's
right.
It.
Yeah. It's like they're doing a bit that didn't like get established as a bit.
Sure.
My basis for this is, of course, the chief from Inspector Gadget.
Sure. Yeah.
Who just shows up inside of like mailboxes and cash registers and places like that to give Gadget his orders.
Right. Which is, and they're parroting the same things, right? So even if this wasn't Potter, it's the same idea of like, well, your handler just has to show up wherever you are, you know?
Yeah.
There's also this.
Did you watch Inspector Gadget?
Of course. Yeah.
For listeners who haven't watched Inspector Gadget, can you describe it to them?
Oh my God, Brent.
I just don't have that much to talk about for the episode, so I want to make sure we hit the runtime.
You could talk about Inspector Gadget. Why is
you're
it
gonna
not
be better at
me?
it. You're going to be better at it than I am.
Inspector Gadget is a sort of detective or spy serial about this guy who's like a wacky cyborg, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing that's happening here, right, is we still have weird vestigial bits of the Nazism that was in the script.
The bad guy's name is Schnips.
And that he's been since the war 26 years ago.
Yeah.
Which war was that again?
The Hitler
War. Yeah. They said it. They said it. We get slimed now. The Hitler War.
You said the secret word.
Exactly. It's just really funny. It's so funny that they're doing all these things that are like, yeah, he's a Nazi. And then at the end, they're like, no, it was Napoleon, you idiots.
Different end kind of guy. Need a different end themed England enemy. Normans?
Who's hated?
Yeah, the Normans.
Who's hated England? Could he be American? No.
No
one would ever believe that.
No.
An American rocket scientist? No, there's no such thing.
No.
Now French.
That's right.
Anyway, then we have the record scene.
We have the record scene,
which I also think is funny because we get a bit of him talking to the record, and it's one of those bits where the record is supposedly pre-recorded, but it responds.
I like this scene and the Potter scene, and I like them for a reason. I like them in stark contrast to a lot of the rest of the episode, and that is because McGowan has lines of dialogue. I really can't stress like how much of the fun of watching this show is watching McGowan perform.
Sure.
Of seeing him like trade barbs back and forth with whoever it is that he's intersecting with, whether they be friend or foe. So much of this episode is just him like silently and sullenly accepting whatever's going on screen.
There's a big reason for that, Brendan. Do you know what that is?
I have to assume it's because he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, Brendan, and it's not even him.
Yeah, I figure not.
It's Frank Maher.
Frank Maher, shout out to you.
It's where they have him in the stupid Sherlock Holmes outfit. It's because Patrick McGowan was like, I'm not doing that shit. And then they've just put Frank Maher in the outfit instead.
It's super apparent when he's at the fair later on, where there's all these screens of McGowan in front of a green screen, and then Maher back to the camera running. Yeah, it's like... It is the most juvenile high school level of editing of like, we've got to make it look like this is the same guy.
It's awesome. It's so good.
Speaking of trying to make it look like the same guy.
Yeah.
He goes to the cricket match and he's got the same facial hair as Colonel English.
Yeah.
Is that to imply that he survived the explosion?
The really funny thing, Brennan, is it's exactly the same cricket match. I didn't joke about that in the summary. But it's the same audience wearing the same outfits in the same positions. It's literally as though the cricket match was paused.
Yeah, it's like rewound a time and dropped him in or something.
They might have.
He's even got like I assume he's like an umpire or something like that. But there's someone dressed as a scientist behind the bowler.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
what's
know
he like when the episode opens? You might assume that this is like village administrative staff running an experiment or something like that. It's so peculiar. What's that guy doing there?
What is he doing there? I don't know.
Yeah.
No one's ever known. He's probably actually paying attention because the thing that the bowler's trying to do is there's some sticks behind the batter, and they're trying to knock those down. So it's not like you're trying to strike out in the same way. You're basically doing bowling, right? There's pins to knock
but he's
down.
dressed in like a white lab coat and tie. Yeah. It's so strange.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. We're doing this live.
Oh?
Cricket umpire outfit.
Oh my God. From the 60s, though, so it's probably changed.
60s. Whoa, it's all like, different colors. I didn't really commit to the bid on that one. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Here's a picky. Here's a picky. Here's a picture,
picky, as they say in Great Britain, jolly old England.
And see, that's for a steady diet of faulty towers. That's the sort of thing I expect. Here's from cricketdawn.com, the best cricket umpires of all time by Vinay Anand. This is from February 17th, 2012. So who knows if we've got some new ones. And a bunch of people are wearing outfits basically exactly like what I'm describing.
There you go.
Yep.
We figured out. Yeah?
Do you want to take a guess at some of the best cricket umpires of all time?
No, how would I know?
There's only 8 of them. You probably get at least a couple of them.
How on earth would I do that? Is one of them John England?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, good bit.
Okay, top 8 as of 2012.
Okay.
Cricket umpires of all time.
Mm-hmm.
John England.
Really?
John Scotland.
Oh, okay.
John Wales. John Australia. And that's it.
Oh, okay. That's weird. It's weird that they ended there on the list.
Yeah, you even go out of their way to say top 8. That's really strange.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, apologies to the actual top 8 cricket umpires of all time. I was doing a bit there, and yeah.
And we love you. So he goes to the pub. He goes to the pub where he meets apparently this is his local pub, which is really funny to me. Not a very good spy.
No. Excuse me. Before he goes to the pub, we have to say, survives the explosion.
Yes.
Chases after it to try and figure out what's going on there. Finds a kerchief with written in plastic.
Yep.
Written in lipstick.
Well, I think it's actually crayon, but it's meant to be lipstick.
Yeah. Let's meet again at your local pub.
Right, exactly.
So he goes to his local pub.
He follows directions.
Yeah.
Where he meets Doris, the barmaid, who he knows on a first name basis. This was Sheena Marsh. She just had a number of sort of, one-off television roles, but she was in the 4 episodes of Doctor Who. And he asked for a regular pint, right? Classic pint. Classic cheeky pint.
He's no longer wearing the facial hair anymore. He's dressed once again as John Drake. He's wearing his little bowler cap.
Yep. And he drinks it.
Wait, excuse me. It's not a bowler cap. What is that?
It's something other kind of cap.
Yeah, other kind of cap.
Other kind of cap. Baseball cap.
He's wearing a baseball helmet. He's drinking his pint.
And word by word, one word at a time, we get those magic words that everybody longs to read.
You have just been poisoned. Visible in the base of the glass that he's drinking. So he had to drink the rest of the pint in order to decipher the message.
He couldn't just pick it up and look underneath.
Or pour it out. What was he going to do? Waste the ale? Absolutely not. Thank you very much.
It's so good.
He's a spy. He's playing it cool.
This is such a good scene. I love this scene.
And here, you start to get your hopes up because the lettering of "You have just been poisoned" is written in the script that the Village uses all over the place. It has nothing to do with the Village. It's just convenience of production.
Yes. And then he orders like 5 different drinks in a row, drinks them all, gets sick.
Incredibly high liquor content things of a different volatile combination, not simply like pounding whiskey.
Right.
He orders a number of different things: Tia Marie, Cointreau, Grand Marnier, brandy, in order to make himself sick, in order to not be poisoned anymore.
Yep.
Or to have a good time until he dies, I guess.
One of the two. We'll never know. But he goes to the washroom and the toilets to throw up, the water closet, whatever you want to call it, where he pulls down on one of those. They have one of those really gross. Have you ever seen one of these, Brendan? Where it's like a loop of towel and you just pull down?
Yeah.
They're so gross. But Sonya's apparently been there and done a quick cross stitch. So now it says...
Yeah, there's like a jump scare from the towel dispenser.
It's an advertisement for the local Turkish baths.
Upset tummy? Try Betty's Turkish baths around the corner.
It's really nice. Really convenient.
This I think I could buy as not being Sonya's weird head games. This is like Benny's Turkish baths has paid a premium to have advertisements. Every third towel has their cross stitch in there.
And McGowan doesn't get it and is just like, of course, it's Sonya.
What if the pub simply has novelty glasses that says you have just been poisoned to try and get their patrons to pay an ungodly amount for liquor in order to make themselves sick?
He actually does this every week. This is what he does at his local
It's just something they run on him because they know he's a spy.
And he keeps coming back anyway.
Yeah.
That'd be good. We are creeping towards him just being Johnny English with this version.
Now I grew up in Florida. What's Johnny English?
Oh my god. Do you know Mr. Bean?
Star of Man vs. Bee.
Yes, exactly. Rowan Atkinson. Mr. Bean, star of Man vs. Bee.
Wait, the guy that did Man vs. Bee has done other stuff? That's amazing.
Yeah, if you can believe it. It's actually really funny. Okay, so two things. One, Johnny English is, yes, Rowan Atkinson being a funny, bad British spy.
Okay.
Two, there'd actually been a parody Doctor Who episode that Rowan Atkinson was also in, that Mr. Bean was also in, called The Curse of the Fatal Death.
That's a good name.
It is a good name. It was written by Stephen Moffat, a.k.a. the Sherlock writer.
Talk about something that's been haunting episodes.
I know. And I just thought that was really funny to like make that connection. Like we could take two steps and then suddenly we're in this other parody zone. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Okay, so he goes to the Turkish baths, and at this point, he is now dressed as Sherlock Holmes for no reason.
Not the slightest bit of justification or transition at all. It's so strange.
I spent a long time looking into this.
Say more.
Because, Brendan, I was convinced there had to be some reason he was dressed as Sherlock Holmes.
There had to be.
There had to be something.
Because it literally goes from the bathroom, him looking at this advertisement / message from the witch in white, the white witch, Tilda Swinton herself.
Yes.
And then it's like he's in the baths, and he's not checking into the baths. He's in the steam room, and he's in one of these old-fashioned boxes.
Yes.
Where it would like literally like trap you inside of a box so that the steam would build up. Around you to increase your, I don't know, saturation. Perspiration. Sure. Yeah. And yet, and when you first see him, his head is sticking out of it, and he's got the facial hair on. So you think, oh, maybe he's dressed as the cricket guy again. But no, when he escapes from this dang box, he's dressed as dang Halloween, Spirit Halloween costume, Sherlock Holmes.
And here we can now reveal one of my many planned reveals for our final 3 episodes, why I kept on bringing up Sherlock Holmes for literally the entire run of our podcast.
That's right. You're here to announce
this. So, as far as I can tell, dear listener, the only reason is because Patrick McGowan didn't want to walk around a fairground. And so they had to dress Frank Maher up in a sufficiently covering outfit so that no one could tell, except for everyone who could tell.
It's so peculiar.
But Brendan, there's weird fan theories about this.
Of course there is. It's the frickin' prisoner, baby.
So,
hey, tell me your theories. I'll share my brothers with you. Theories are good.
Theories are good. So I don't personally. Okay, so my actual thinking on this is that it's part of parodying detective / spy fiction, right? He's a detective on the case, so suddenly he's Sherlock Holmes, right? That's the loosest thing I can see. I saw claims from fans, including some big name fans like Leo Vader with his video documentary, claiming that there was a biographical story in Patrick McGowan's life of him dressing up as Sherlock Holmes and showing up at a boxing ring to make his friends laugh. And then his friends invited him up to box and then beat him up so bad that they were worried whether he'd be able to show up on stage the next day.
Wow.
This appears to be apocryphal.
It doesn't sound like
it doesn't
Patrick
sound
McGowan,
like,
if I'm being perfectly honest.
No, he's a weird, shy introvert who doesn't like people. He would not do this. Mm-hmm. I literally read all 300 pages of Patrick McGowan's biography to check to see, is there any evidence of this? There is not. Anyway, what's your brother's theory?
My brothers do not have a theory, but I do want to call out that James Bond basically does this exact same thing in Thunderball, where he had been trapped in a stretching machine. Have you ever seen or heard of a stretching machine?
Yeah.
I remember it mostly because it's the subject of one of my absolute favorite you'rethemannowdog.com bits, manmuscle. ytmnd.com, which I'm linking in the chat for you right now.
Okay.
But once he escapes from that, he finds the guy that did it to him and traps him in a steam box the way that McGowan gets trapped in the steam box.
This is so loud, Brendan.
Yeah, it's you'rethemannowdog.com.
I gotta mute this
tab. Of course it's loud. Hey, describe what you're seeing. No, you know what?
I'm not going to describe what I'm seeing.
Don't worry about that. But for anyone who's listening and doesn't know what you'rethemannowdog.com is, would you explain that for the listeners?
I don't know. This is the first I've heard of this.
You've never heard of you'rethemannowdog.com? What are you, 12?
Yes, I'm 12 years old. I'm the youngest prisoner podcast host.
You've been alive
for well over 3 decades.
When did you'rethemannowdog.com first come?
I'm sure it was around. It's just there's so much internet, Brendan, and so much of it is bad.
Here's the original.
Okay.
So yourethemannowdog.com is a website where someone, you know what, I could probably find out exactly who it was, but someone put a looping clip of Sean Connery saying the line, "You're the man now, dog," from the Finding Forrester trailer, presumably from the Finding Forrester movie. It's a movie where he's basically being, what's that American writer who's like super reclusive?
There's a lot of those. I don't know who you mean.
No, there's one in particular. J.D. Salinger.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, there's this student that like manages to befriend him, and like Sean Connery becomes his mentor. And there's a bit where the student, who is black, is typing at a typewriter, and Sean Connery says, "You're the man now, dog."
Of course.
Yeah. And knowing that, I think, really unlocks
the entirety of The Prisoner.
At least this episode.
God. Where the hell are we? Okay, so he gets out of the Turkish bath trick, which was Sonia just putting a broom.
Max Goldberg. Max Goldberg is the creator of YourTheManNowDog.com.
Okay, but wait, sorry. So the way we got there was you saying that this happens in Thunderball? That Sean Connery dresses up as Sherlock Holmes?
No, No, I can see how you got there, though. No, Sean Connery traps someone else in a steam box in order to torment him.
I thought you were trying to explain what was up with him. He dresses as Sherlock Holmes. I was like, I don't remember Sean Connery dressed up as Sherlock Holmes. Anyway.
Did Sean Connery
ever play Sherlock Holmes?
He must have, right?
No, surprisingly.
He must have. No, he never did. How about that?
No, he died unfulfilled.
He played William of Baskerville in Name of the Rose.
That's basically the same thing. So when he escapes from his Turkish bath trap, the saw trap that Sonia put him in that time.
Okay. Actual theory. He accidentally transforms into Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
While he's in the box because of the excessive heat, like that boy what turns into a car.
Yeah, when he eats too spicy food. Yeah,
right.
Or when that happens in Utana. You've seen this clip, right?
Yeah. That's very funny for a secret reason.
Yeah, for a secret reason that we won't.
No,
be
we can just
discussing.
say it actually. Where we were talking about like, should we watch Utena for our Prisoner podcast? We have ultimately decided no, we should not. But maybe we'll like talk about it like during a Q&A episode or something like that.
Yeah. Send us questions like, why won't you talk about Utena? When will you talk about Utena? Anyway, so he breaks out of his Turkish bath saw trap prison. We have the classic saw, da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na. We don't. If only they did.
We have a lot of music that only appears in this episode, though.
It's very like children's music theme. So there's a bunch more of the like Pop Goes the Weasel style of like orchestral reimaginings of children's songs. And here he gets the go to Barney's boxing booth, front row. P.S. Who would be a goldfish?
Who would be a goldfish?
And this is my second point that I spent way too long on trying to understand why she wrote P.S. Who would be a goldfish?
Good question, because it never gets answered this friggin' episode.
I don't understand. So in Dance of the Dead, it is the case that number 6 says, I won't be a goldfish in a bowl. As in, I won't be just something pretty to be looked at, right? I won't just be like placid here in the village, right? And so again, with like the pub scene and him like, you know, having the village lettering at the bottom of the glass, there is this little bit of like, oh, is this a reflection of things that we've seen already in The Prisoner? Mm-hmm. I don't think that's it. I think it's basically her saying, I won't just like sit there and look pretty and let you come to me, right?
Right, sure.
But it's not clear. It's the metaphor is weak.
Yeah, you've got to really do the work to like get it from one to the other.
Yes. So then he goes.
I'm not going to do it.
Fair.
Despite the fact that it's my job.
So he Frank Marr, dressed as Sherlock Holmes, goes to the carnival, where they go to Barney's boxing ring, and we get the killer Kraminski, the Polish giant.
Yeah.
Who's not actually Polish, supposedly, but Scottish, even though his actor, Michael Brennan, is just English. He actually was in Thunderball. He's Johnny, one of Largo's henchmen in Thunderball.
Great.
Harold Behrens is the boxing MC. He was mostly actually a radio actor and did comedies mostly, but he was also in TV and The Avengers and some film, Trial of the Pink Panther. And this is a scene that also basically works for me. It's sort of like a mid-tier Monty Python sketch. I
don't hate it. It goes on a little bit long, but certainly not as long as a bunch of other stuff is about to.
It's true. So I think this is another scene that like mostly works as far as like a parody scene of these sorts of spy things go. And then he goes to the Tunnel of Love.
Being told, after having been told several times to go to the Tunnel of Love, he goes to the Tunnel of Love.
Yeah, after being punched in his tummy so many times.
He dresses back up as Sherlock Holmes.
Well, he is dressed up as Sherlock Holmes in that scene. They just take away his like coat. He's still wearing the deerstalker.
Yeah.
But he gets his coat back on. He goes to the Tunnel of Love. And the Tunnel of Love kind of looks fantastic.
It's scary.
It's scary. There's all of these masks on the wall.
I don't like it.
It
feels weirdly racist.
I don't know about racist, but it definitely is weird looking, right?
Yeah.
The masks.
It feels like it's going for something, and I don't know what.
I mean, the masks kind of remind me of the like the heads in the forest in the village, right? Those like statues, right? That like turn to
like the Greek busts and such.
Exactly. Yeah. They're very similar in style. And so like that I think is fun. And it's here where we get Sonia sort of appearing behind him again. And we hear her voice, and she mentions, you know, basically, oh, I'm so in love with you. I'm going to kill you.
I can't get enough of you.
You're so cool. I can't wait until you're dead. I'm gonna give you the best death.
It certainly doesn't go so far as Famke Janssen does in Goldeneye, but there's a big like Xenia on a top, like I'm getting off by the violence that I'm trying to inflict upon you kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is very much like she refers to herself as Death, right?
Right.
This is supposedly a character who basically identifies as Death itself, right?
She identifies as Death, But really, she's a little bit more of like the Joker.
She's 100% the Joker. Yeah.
If our theory is correct, if number 6 is the Village's Batman, then this is the Clown Prince of Crime. This is the unstoppable object come to torment him.
Yeah. Even though the real unstoppable object is obviously Alexis Craner, who is in this episode and is about to appear.
If she is the Joker, then Alexis Craner is
Harley Quinn.
yeah, Harley Quinn, obviously. Yeah,
obviously. He should have been dressed as Harley Quinn. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So in the script, just to quickly mention it,
whatever you say, Mr. Six.
I'll box your head in, Batman.
I'll rip your arms off.
He would. In the script, there's a brief interlude before we go to the Tunnel of Love where he goes to a maze with a, quote, New Guinea headhunter, a parrot who gives instructions, and a murderous gardener.
Like, honestly, like, probably should have had more of that. Like, it would have been bad to see, but...
This guy wrote Schizoid Man. It's the same guy. Anyway.
Also, okay. Again, more stuff that like the show is counting on you having seen and like just completely breezes by because of shoddy camera work.
Sure.
Like as he's going to the Tunnel of Love.
Yeah.
Or no, as he's going to the boxing thing, there is a shot of that photographer taking pictures of a lady in white dressed the same way as Sonya is, like, which is about to be like a major point of contention for this whole carnival experience. It's just like the show does not do a good job of like, you know, what I was talking about before about like, aren't parody episodes usually funny? This show does not, this episode rather, does not do a very good job of like setting up the situation so that you can laugh about it when it happens.
That's fair. And speaking of not setting up situations super well, the next 3.5 minutes are basically a Scooby-Doo chase sequence.
They sure are.
They honestly should have just overdubbed the Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Where are you?
If we'd had a song here, it would have made this whole thing so much more tolerable.
But yeah, it's basically a sequence of Frank Maher walking somewhere, a quick react shot of McGoohan in front of a projector screen where they projected the episode behind him because he couldn't be bothered to leave the studio. And then him supposedly about to grab Sonya, only for it to be revealed to be another woman. Now, I think this is a good point to bring up the fact that McGoohan was basically losing it at this point in the production.
Can you blame him?
I mean, so
the answer in 2 episodes.
So in terms of what was like let's just sort of remind ourselves. I think it's worth reminding ourselves of like how we got here, right? So we just a couple episodes ago did our bonus on Ice Station Zebra, right? So originally that plan had been that McGoohan would go off and do that during the break between like the 2 planned seasons, 13 episodes, then 13 episodes. And it was when he's sort of about to leave that they make the decision to cut it down to 17, right? And so the episodes that were remaining to be done, right? Those remaining episodes where they basically had no budget for. They were massively over budget. He was straining all the goodwill he had from Lou Grade, right? And that meant that McGoohan's solution was, well, I'm just going to do everything and they don't have to pay me. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And so he was doing literally everything, right? He started directing a bunch of episodes, right? A change of mind. He took over as director because they basically didn't want to pay the young director who was going to do it otherwise, right? The cowboy episode, right, is done by Dave Tomblin, who's again David Tomblin's like his BFF basically, right? And then this episode, right, and they're reaching this point where McGoohan is basically like doing everything in terms of like script edits, rewrites. He's literally like passing out pieces of paper with like updated scripts on it that he like hand wrote. Here's the new thing that we're going to do. He's like updating all the camera stuff. He's like working on the edit. He's working on like the music, right? And he's basically not sleeping. And everybody's described that like whether he was like drunk or out of sleep or just manic, right? He's basically a nightmare at this point to interact with.
Yeah. Working in video games, there's a thing called workhorse theory, which is that most of the work gets done by the people that are willing to do the most work.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that is kind of the backbone of how schedules and production timelines get made. Of like, oh, well, it takes this long to make a game. And that's based on the fact that so many things are not yet known or not yet scheduled or that aren't accounted for late in production or things get added in, that the work, that the timeline doesn't change, the budget doesn't change. What changes is the capacity for which the people working on it, and usually very particular people on it who are usually hyper competent and some combination of willing to do that work, whether from budgetary reasons or selflessness or simply like very often youth and stamina or passion. Yep, exactly. Certainly, if there's anything to admire about McGoohan in this instance, no doubt he was a nightmare to be in front of, but he did all of this and didn't ask someone else to do it, right?
It's true. Yeah.
Except maybe David Tomlin.
Yeah, exactly. His BFF he could ask. Well, and like Alexis Kaner, who he like in these final 3 episodes that they produced, right, which are not the same as the final 3 episodes that are broadcast, right? This next episode we're about to watch, right, was done way earlier. Yep. George Markstein was still there.
Yeah, more on that soon.
Yeah. But Alexis Kaner basically came on as like a third wheel here at the end, right?
Right.
And so he's in this scene, right? And he's the guy who's taking photographs of Sonia / some other lady who I don't have the name for. And who has the great bit of like, again, ADR'd. I don't know why they didn't just ever let him speak. He's always ADR'd.
In this instance, it's because he's doing this on a roller coaster, the first of our 2 roller coasters of the episode.
Yeah, that's the answer, folks, by the way.
And he has so many lines threatening McGoohan. It's like awesome. It's not merely like, get out of here, buddy. It's like he has a litany of threats that he lays at his door.
I'll break your arm, Sherlock Holmes. It's really good.
Maybe he just particularly hates Sherlock Holmes's.
Maybe. He's like a dog barking at the mailman, but for Sherlock Holmes.
Right, yeah.
And like, this is also funny to me. Like, I think Alexis is always fun to have on screen, and he's fun here.
Sure.
So that's basically the end of it. Eventually, this 3.5 minutes that seems like it will go on forever ends. And we see Frank Maher chasing Sonia to her car, grabbing onto the car. Unsurprisingly, the car gets away from him. He jumps in his own car, and he transforms into Patrick McGoohan again.
He does.
And here's where we get the only sort of like truly fantastical sort of scene with Sonia.
Yes.
Do you want to describe it? Should I describe it?
I take it away.
So he's chasing Sonia. They both have sort of like secret agent spy cars, right? They're all like cool and racy and stuff. I don't know what kind of cars these are. I'm not a car guy. And she like, first of all, has a microphone in her car and somehow broadcasts to the radio of his car, which is understandable as like weird spy nonsense, right? Who cares? But then
my car can do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's like when you're airdropping.
That's right.
But then as we're about to pass a sign for Witchwood, she turns back and like does this like back and forth finger thing, right? And as she does, they play bizarre, stereotypical racist Indian music. And the camera moves in such a way to suggest that Patrick McGoohan's perception or his car is literally moving back and forth along with her finger.
Yeah, like it's moving down like a pipe or a corkscrew or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a bonus stage from Sonic 2.
Exactly. He's got to jump over the barriers to get the rings.
He's got to get the Chaos Emeralds.
He's got to.
That's how he escapes from the village.
I really like this. Yeah, so he can become super number 6. He becomes invincible. He just runs through number 2.
Leo McKern would be a great Eggman. I'm just saying.
Oh, man, he would be.
Yeah.
Dang. Oh, man. Australian Brian Blessed as Eggman. But I really like this scene. I mean, the effects are kind of silly. It's all just camera work stuff. But it works for me at least.
I really like that it does not say what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, it is very willing to just be like, here's a thing that's happening, deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. And then we get to Witchwood.
Speaking of things that happen that you have to deal with.
Where we basically are in that old, the like rub-a-dub-dub 3 Men in a Tub. You know this children's rhyme?
Yeah, we're in that classic dungeon based on the children's rhyme.
I mean, it is a dungeon. She's basically set up a hex crawl for him.
Here's one for the nerds. Here's one for the freaks and geeks out there. Have you ever shown up to to role playing night and it seems like the GM just doesn't have anything prepared, and they're just sort of like making up rooms as you go?
You ever play Morkborg?
Yeah. You ever play Angband?
You ever play Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
Anyway,
absolutely not.
Never. You?
Me? I can't play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm too busy playing Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition.
A guy like you would never broadcast years of a D&D campaign.
Absolutely not. Never.
So yeah, I mentioned earlier saying this was like a saw trap. This is the most saw trap, that sort of situation.
It is not merely a saw trap. It is not merely like the level of that room is filled with poison gas. Also, the floors are electrified. But she's got a pun for every single thing that happens.
It rules. I love it.
No.
It's so good. It seems you got the point.
I'd let go. I'd let the spikes get me.
Come on, Brennan. A beautiful woman trying to kill you is like your dream.
She's not even there. She's watching me on just a camera.
She is. She's close by, though. She's in the bell tower.
That's true. She is in the bell tower. He almost gets shot by these turrets.
Yeah.
They're like the little tiny turrets in the first Portal game.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And they go, "Are you still there?"
That's right. That's right. Oh, okay. Actually, okay. I actually do have something to say here. All of everything building up to this is just jokes. I have something to say here.
Okay.
John Drake picks up a gun.
Yeah,
it just
sure
goes
does.
to town with this dang thing. We get more of Magoon with his hands on guns in this episode than we do anywhere else. And we had the cowboy episode where he kills a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's like, hey, your favorite guy, John Drake, is back.
I mean, yeah, it sure is interesting the focus on guns in this back half. Anyway, so there's this very silly scene where he blows up a door with some candles that explode. And then they have what must have been the most expensive scene to shoot in the prisoner.
There's so much going on. She's got a minigun.
She's dressed as a German, like, World War I officer.
Not a Nazi. Definitely not a Nazi. Auf Wiedersehen, not a Nazi.
Not a Nazi.
Not a Nazi.
Different war.
Different Hitler war. She's got, I don't know what the name for them are, but they're those rod-shaped grenades that you can throw as like a bowling pin.
Yeah.
She's got an RPG launcher.
Number 6's character, Patrick McGowan's character, is driving a bulldozer.
Yeah, he grabs a bulldozer to protect himself.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing PUBG.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
This is so PUBG. She's been squatting in that tower.
She's been dropping ammo everywhere around here.
Yeah. If there was a version of a PUBG where you could set traps somewhere, this is just that.
That's got to exist, right?
It's got to exist.
That's got to exist.
So then,
really quick, for people that don't know what PUBG is, can you describe PUBG for us?
Players Unknown Battlegrounds is a thing that started this sort of currently popular battle royale genre, or jump-started its popularity, which you jump onto a map with a whole bunch of people. There's a ring that slowly closes. You're trying to be the last team or the last individual standing.
That's right.
Does that work?
Yeah.
From there, she jumps on a helicopter and he grabs onto the back of the helicopter and holds on for the entire ride.
Goes completely unnoticed.
Because she never looks behind her. She says, well, now that I've killed John Drake, I never have to look behind me again.
They land in the exact same field where they took off. Interspersed with all of this, we have a mysterious set of hands looking through a children's book with pictures that are roughly analogous to whatever's going on. Like here we see like a picture of a biplane, that kind of thing.
Yeah, earlier we had like the boxing match, etc.
Yep.
No Sherlock Holmes notably in that illustration. Anyway.
Yeah, weird. That just sort of got dropped in from somewhere. Peculiar.
I don't know where.
Yeah.
And from there we see a lighthouse in the distance, right? He follows her to some sort of cave that will lead to an underground passage that will lead you to a lighthouse.
A lot of caves.
Hey, Brendan, do these caves look familiar?
They look awfully familiar.
That's sort of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, some sort of murder island.
Some sort of murderous island. Sort of a Kyoshi kind of situation going on.
Boy,
oh boy.
Remember the guy that was obsessed with death and loved watching that Hamlet production?
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Wish he was here.
I mean, that would at least tie it together, right? It'd be like, I'm back for revenge, John Drake.
Try to punch me with the death punch now.
Evade my bullets by jumping into the water, will you?
Twice? Okay.
You don't work for the UN at all.
More on that in just a second. Before that, he has to literally do the thing that we keep on suggesting that number 6 is doing in these episodes. He has to knock someone out Agent 47 style and steal their clothes.
He does. And inexplicably, this person is dressed as a member of the Grande Armée from Napoleon War. Not the Hitler War, the Napoleon War.
Yeah. But don't worry. I mean, it's a little bit explicitly because we just saw some posters hanging up of Napoleon and his wife.
We saw what looks like just photographs. Like printed out Polaroids.
Yeah, I think they were in a magazine and they cut them out and they pasted them to the walls.
Yeah, they got he started his National Geographic collection. He got all the best pictures of Napoleon, who he thinks he is. I guess let's get to this guy.
Let's get to this guy. Number 2. AKA Schnips, AKA, as he's better known in reality, Kenneth Griffith.
Kenneth Griffith.
Was that weirdo on the beach in Kyoshi?
Shindashima.
Shindashima. Yeah. Murder Island.
Yeah. The weird English guy on the beach who betrays them, sells them out.
Tries to, and then is
gets super murdered. Kenneth Griffith, I don't know if we said in our episode on Danger Man, but this guy actually kind of rules.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. He was a Welsh actor who was also a documentary filmmaker who was himself a socialist who kept making documentaries that people wouldn't put on the air because they sympathized too much with the people Britain was doing colonialism to.
Yep. Yeah. Really cool guy.
Yeah.
So they bring him back from Danger Man. Apparently, like, explicitly reached out to him because of the Danger Man connection here, which I think is fun, right? Mm-hmm. He's this big prominent character in that episode in sort of a way that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no reason for him to be a character in Shindashima, but he is.
No, it's one of those instances where, like Alexis Canner, where they're kind of like, this guy kind of has the sauce. Let's get him on screen a little bit more. And I don't think it's too big a spoiler to say we will see more of him in an important role here in The Prisoner.
Yes.
Not as Napoleon or number 2 necessarily.
No. Though who knows, right?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe he is Napoleon.
That's what I meant.
That's right.
So this is the very funny scene of them all doing the Napoleon sticking his hand in his shirt thing and him like slapping their hands out because only he could be Napoleon.
Yeah. He says, look, I told you they're all doing it now.
Yep. No doubles. He's a very funny comedic actor.
He's
I like
good.
all the scenes that he's in.
Yeah. He's Sonia's dad?
Yes. But
Do they
he is
act that
dressed.
way?
No, he has dressed her up as her late mother, which is a normal thing to do for your mother.
Yep.
And makes all the references. Like, she makes references of, like, her mother doing a bombing run or something. Like, tell me the story of that again. He says, no, it's not the time. a bunch of like old head Prisoner fans keep on wanting to read this episode as like very Freudian. There's a lighthouse. There's a guy with his daughter in this sort of weird,
right. There's always a lighthouse. There's always a guy with his daughter.
Exactly. Booker, whatever his face was.
Yeah. That one's for all the nerds out there.
Yeah, may the 4th be with you, everybody. BioShock 2 coming out any day
May the
now.
4th be with you, BioShock 2. Favorite quote.
That's, I think, the final quote in that game. As Booker is dying.
Yeah, all the little sisters gather around you and say, may the 4th be with you.
I don't think that was her name, the lady with the big eyes and cleavage. I don't think it was Little Sister.
No, see, that's anyway. It. That's the weird reading.
Oh, that's the twist. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a silly scene here. There's a bunch of silly scenes of him like talking to his people while McGowan in the sort of lower part of the lighthouse is like taking apart their armory, basically.
He's doing something to their weapons.
Sabotage. He's
sabotaging their weapons. Yes.
Yeah. In a ways that we will not fully understand until like 3 more minutes.
Nor do I think I understand once I see the results of that sabotage.
I don't think that it actually makes any sense. It's just supposed to be like, yep, he sabotaged them. That's what he did.
It's some real Bugs Bunny, like turning the barrel of the gun around on you.
Yes.
So that it fires in the wrong direction type sabotage.
Yes. They do this thing where, sort of comedic beat. They send down one guard. He takes out the one guard. They send down a whole bunch of other guards. And then there's some silly things there. They do literally all running around a pole type shenanigans. He takes all the guards out because they try to shoot the sabotage gun, and Bugs Bunny shoot themselves. And then Sonia gets him with one of her guns that hasn't been sabotaged.
They tie him up.
There's a very funny line, I think a funny line of her saying that it's climbing rope that could hold an elephant. And Patrick McGowan says, I must remember that the next time I'm rock climbing with an elephant.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's good.
See, once she's allowed to talk, it's entertaining, you know what I mean? But that's like the first line that he's had in 30 minutes. It's ridiculous.
I mean, he sang a little bit of a song. And he pretended to be Scottish or Irish or something for a half second. But yes,
sure.
This is our only real bit of Patrick McGowan dialogue.
Going back to the Napoleon thing, I think this idea that, like, for whatever reason, this Napoleon analog has gathered minions from each of the different states of Great Britain, because England is really what his target is. So he's got a Scottish one and a Welsh one and an Irish one.
Yes.
That's a funny bit.
It is a funny bit. And none of this is in the script because, again, they're all little Hitlers in the script. And so we know Kenneth Griffith, 1, was sort of, anti-colonial, and 2, was a good comedic actor. I kind of figured that he just did all this.
It's very likely he just came up with it right there.
There's even evidence to that because in his later showing, his final showing in The Prisoner, he will just get to write his own lines. Patrick McGowan just lets him write his own stuff.
That's great.
So there's a real sense that, like, Patrick McGowan just kind of trusted this guy, like, okay, you're going to come up with something silly, go for it, do it.
Yeah.
Again, even though he was taking on a bunch of stuff, there was at least some notion of him like, okay, if he trusts you, he'll trust you to do the thing, right? And you see that with Alexis Canner, you see that with Kenneth Griffith, you see that with David Tomblin. Even if he was drunk out of his mind half the time. Then we get the sort of final bit here. They take too long because they're getting documents for some reason.
Yeah, they didn't pack before they decided they needed to leave.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we forget to mention the lighthouse is the rocket.
The lighthouse is the rocket.
There's a very funny bit here of Kenneth Griffith's Schnips saying the lighthouse is the rocket, and Patrick McGowan's spy character saying it at the same time, and Schnips getting really mad about it. No, I wanted to do the reveal.
He's a good bad guy.
He's a good bad guy.
Yeah.
He's very funny. He's like, he's up there with, Colin Gordon in terms of being like a good comedic number 2.
Totally.
So, there's a silly scene here at the end. He managed to get out. He takes their boat away. They try to throw some stuff at him. It blows them up, right?
The bit where he's trying to escape from the ropes and he realizes he can just lift the top off of the chair and lift the ropes off is very funny.
It's also very funny, right? Like, I think it's fair to say that the midpoint of this episode suffers from the fact that Patrick McGowan's not really doing anything in it. But I do think that like there's enough good stuff, like enough funny scenes in here that I'm happy with it as a parody episode.
I think if it had signaled this is a parody episode from the jump, that would prime people to people parentheses Brendan's close parentheses.
Yeah,
to be fair. Like, hey, this is what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, first-time watchers or people who don't remember prior-time watchers are certainly at a disadvantage of this episode. I could definitely see that. And then we get the only village scenes here at the end.
Yeah.
We get, first of all, the pan out to reveal that the book has been read by number 6 the whole time.
And that's how I saved London from the mad scientist.
That's what he says. And then we get 3 close-ups of 3 children, along with the most racist doll I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
It's brutal.
It's not good.
They let you get away with this in the 1960s. They should not have. They saw Hitler in the script and they were like, ooh, maybe not. But they didn't think, let's not put the terrible like Aunt Jemima doll on screen.
Yeah, there's nothing really to say about
Except it sucks.
It sucks. I wish it weren't there.
So the 3 children are Gaynor Stewart, that's the girl, Graham Stewart, that's the boy, and of course that's also you, Brendan. Because we established you were born in the village.
Yeah, that's true. I'm still there to this day.
And you weren't the cowboy boy, so this must have been you.
Yeah, it must be me.
And then we have Stephen Howe, who's the ginger boy, who's in a couple roles after this, including a Doctor Who spinoff, K9 and Company. So
wait, I'm sorry? There's a Doctor Who spinoff?
There's a ton of Doctor Who spinoffs. So K9 is a robot dog who's Doctor Who's dog. This was the 4th Doctor era. This is Baker. What's his name? What's his first name? Oh no, I'm gonna lose all my credentials. It's not Troy Baker because he's the man.
Yeah, Troy Baker. Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Thank God. Oh, yeah. Anyway. So Tom Baker, during Tom Baker's run, which was super popular, he had a number of like co-hosts that they then tried to do spin-offs of. So one of his like companions and also his robot dog had a brief spin-off called K9 and Company.
I know Tom Baker from that one thing.
Star Wars Rebels.
That's right. That's what I was trying to remember. Star Wars Rebels.
Where he's a big monkey.
Star Wars Rebels, where he plays Winston Overwatch.
Would you like a jelly baby?
I'm neither light nor dark.
I'm the one in the middle, the Bendu. I'm coming to get you.
Thrawn. Thrawn took all my bananas.
It's true, he did. That's so sad. Anyway. So, so all the children's dialogue. Yeah.
Sorry, finish what you were saying. I'll ask my question then.
All the children's dialogue is incomprehensible. They're just all yelling for more stories, right? In the script, interestingly, they're supposed to call him Uncle Six, which they don't do.
That's a funny conceit.
It is a funny conceit.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it. Because I don't know if you noticed, but in the Cowboys episode, nobody calls him number 6.
I did notice this.
And in this episode, nobody calls him number 6.
That's right.
And so it's really interesting, right? Something has happened now where like they're no longer doing this.
Maybe. I also don't think these are 2 very well written episodes. So it could just be a sin of omission.
Sure. But even if that's true, right? Like,
sure.
I think that even if there's no intentionality here, there's still an interesting effect where they're not reminding us that he's 6.
Sure. Yes. Good point.
And I think that there is some intention here, right? Because it was in the script. So somebody, probably McGowan, given how he kept on doing this script editing thing, live during recording, was like, no, don't call him number 6. Don't call him Uncle 6 at this point.
Maybe. I mean, I could just as easily see it being a similar sort of situation as in Living in Harmony, where he's like, oh, these kids can't do line reads worth a damn. I'm just going to let them scream so we can wrap up the scene.
They should have just screamed. No, I get it.
This episode does open with the prisoner opening where it's like, you are number 6.
Totally. It's true.
Totally.
It's true.
I do appreciate that maybe it's like This is episode 15 of The Prisoner. You don't need reminding that this is number 6, that this is who this is.
I think there might be something else happening here, but I'm going to wait to the next episode to talk about it more.
Sure. That's fair. Hey, where do these kids come from?
Well, Brendan, when a mother from the village and a father from the village love each other so much, I mean, who knows?
I don't think there's a breeding program going on at the village.
You better hope not.
I better. They're all so old.
It's all the psychics. They bring in all the psychics and the Olympic athletes, and they say, "Get busy."
Yeah,
you've heard
got
about the Olympic Village situation. And what happens there, right?
I have heard this. Yes.
All the beds in the village are made of cardboard. Anyway, they do keep on trying to pair 6 off.
Space Swords is also canceled.
They do keep on trying to pair 6 off with young women.
Ooh. So,
I know. So, who knows what's happening here? I don't think that's actually eugenics, right? Like, there has been some mention, like, even in Arrival, right? The maid claimed, at least. And we have talked about, even though if that claim was fake, they have talked about them using real stuff as part of the tricks, right? There's been claims about people being born in the village.
Sure, yes. My guess is they decided, here's a plan. Let's get number 6 in front of some children and maybe he'll let something slip. So they imported a bunch of children in the same way that they have imported scientists and other people for particular plans. These kids are from someone else who is connected to the village, but are just here for a temporary period of time.
Yeah, the sister site where they have like the professor from and the
or whatever, or the real world, right? Like they have all these people that are supposedly working for them.
Notably, they're not given numbers.
Sure. Yes.
Which is interesting, right? Like we've talked a lot about maybe the numbers as being your role in society. Mm-hmm. And so there's this sort of sense of like these children do not have a role in society, which is kind of interesting in terms of like middle liberalist sort of sense of the role of children, right? Changing from like child labor that you would have had not too long ago into no, childhood is a thing which is separate, right? You don't have to like partake in society yet.
They are also wearing their PJs, and most people don't have their number on their PJs.
That's not true. In the scene with number 8 shows up in his house, remember from the chess episode, Checkmate? She's wearing her number.
Is she wearing her PJs?
She is wearing her PJs.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because she wants to sleep with him.
She desperately does.
Yeah, she loves him with a passionate love.
Yeah, probably hates him all the more.
Don't you think she's wearing her number to remind him of like, hey, remember me? Remember me? Don't you love me? I'm that one that you love.
I don't know. Maybe. There's not enough here.
All right, no. Here's the real test: is let's see if the milk boy is wearing the number when he comes up out of his bedroom.
He definitely is.
He would be.
Colin Gordon's a consummate professional. I mean, regardless, there's not really enough here. A whole episode that was about this question of like, what is the role of children in the village, or like how do children factor into the village would be a really cool episode. That is not what they did, because again, everybody was like manic or tired or drunk out of their minds. Nobody had the time to like think through these things.
People are desperate for milk. Colin Gordon is not wearing a number.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Maybe you're right. It is also interesting.
Should we assign these children numbers?
Oh, how would we do this?
I'll go first, and then you go second, and then we'll say the third one at the same time.
At the same time.
Okay. The first. So the girl is number.
Yes.
1.
You bastard.
It's revealed that Schnips and Sonia are number 2 and number 17.
Yes. We get our only shot of those two in this episode. And it's interesting, right? Because we talked about before of like in the cowboy episode, we joked about, does anybody have any ideas about how to break him? And it really feels like they're at the end of their ropes with their ideas of how to break him. They're like, I don't know, the storybook to children plan. Something's got to work.
Can we talk about 17's incredible fit?
Yeah, so good. Yeah, she's wearing like a riding suit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so cool. She's so cool.
She looks like she's about to go pick up a harem for the evening.
Maybe. Or she's about to be in like a 60s rock and roll video.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, she says, it was worth a shot, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
it wasn't.
We weren't getting anywhere with anything else.
Just off screen, like an hour before this episode, they had like tried something. They like put him in a quicksand, and they were like, "Tell us, or we'll let you drown in the quicksand." Anyway, yeah. So they then go back to him. He's leaving. He's got a little clown doll he's been carrying around. He puts that down so that the camera that they clearly have had watching him this whole time can see, and he says, "Good night, children, everywhere." And we zoom in on the clown to let you know this is a parody episode. It's a clown. It's a joke. We also didn't mention it, but at the carnival, there's a really scary clown.
There is a really scary clown.
The sailor clown?
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
Scream laughing.
Yeah.
He is, it's the Joker. the clown prince of crime. She's here.
I can't believe she didn't leave a bunch of chattering teeth for Six to get bit by.
I can't believe her gun didn't say bang on a little flag when he shot it. What I really wanted to actually talk about is, you mentioned it before, right? Like, George Markstein by this point is well off the show, right? He's long gone. And you mentioned that in the back half, we are going to increasingly feel the lack of George Markstein, right?
Yeah.
And George Markstein was the guy who was like the realist to Patrick McGoohan's like allegorical sort of impulse guy, right? Yeah. He was the one who wanted to figure out, no, what are the logistics of the village? How does it work, right?
He was very, very good at taking McGoohan's, like, here is a big idea, and saying, like, okay, that's a neat big idea. What actually happens? And turning that into a series of events that conforms to what you would expect to have happen, not necessarily in terms of spy fiction, although he was good at that, but in terms of A and then B and then C in order to make an episode of television.
Right. And you can really clearly see that in some of the earlier episodes that are more grounded, right, in terms of spy fiction. And here in these last two episodes we've watched, I think you can see a really consistent thing, right, of like high concept thing for about 40, 45 minutes. And then the last 3 minutes is we're back in the village.
Right. We've got to clean all this up. Because
like that's the bit that Patrick McGoohan didn't care about.
Right.
He didn't care about the back in the village stuff to actually explain the allegories, right? And to give some reason for it. And I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up here at the end, as we're heading into this final stretch, is George Markstein has publicly said to the press over and over again, Patrick McGoohan's character in The Prisoner is John Drake. From the start, George Markstein has maintained that was always the plan, that he was always John Drake.
Whereas McGoohan has always equivocated, said, no, this is a new thing. This someone from the government resigns under mysterious circumstances, and so on and so forth.
And I think that you can see that tension, right? Really clearly in this episode, especially, of they're doing all these things of being like, he's John Drake, he's John Drake. And if George Markstein was there, you know for sure they would have been like, let's actually make this make sense, as opposed to being just like a jokey joke parody episode.
Right.
And I think that's especially interesting going into our penultimate episode.
The penultimate episode, which, as you have said, was made back when George Markstein was still on the show.
Yeah.
And, which I think it's worth saying here, is basically part one of a two-parter.
Yes. We're not going to be covering it with the other one. We're going to cover them one at a time.
We're going to skip that episode. We're not going to bother watching that one or talking about it. We're not going to cover that.
There's so much to talk about in the next episode. There's no way that we could like watch both and then talk about it. It'd be like a 5-hour recording.
Yeah, both are loaded up with material.
Yeah.
Golly. Why do they call her the girl who was death when she's clearly like 30?
Because she calls herself Death. Now, if Batman had been around at the time, they would have called her the girl who was the Joker.
No, I don't mean the calls herself Death. I mean, she's not a girl. She's like...
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Any available young woman is a girl, according to the language of the show.
The available young woman who was Death.
The prospect who was Death.
The debutante who was Death.
The fiancé who was Death.
The single young woman who was Death.
The situationship who was Death.
If you're hearing this and you're a single young woman who was Death, call me.
That's right. The whole of The Prisoner's Dilemma has been a setup to try to get Brendan a date.
I should be clear. Also, if you're a single young man or non-binary individual who's Death.
You know what it is.
What it is number one with a bullet. Your standout performance, thing, prop, scene.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, I've given you so long.
Okay.
Confess.
Here's what I'm going to do. Confess. Now, if you say that, I have to be the number 6 and I have to refuse. But I'm not number 6. I'm number 2, as we've established. And so because of that, I will compromise with you.
Right.
And I will instead say that my number 1 with a bullet is the sequence with Schnips, Sonia, and all the Napoleons. That scene there, just the comedic beats that happen in that scene, top of the line stuff.
Great. Good deal. I love You Have Just Been Poisoned. But I'm going to give an honorable mention to a bit of camera work in the very beginning of the scene with the original cricket match where the man gets killed by an explosive. Right before the bowler throws the thing, there's this really interesting like staccato zoom in on the general who's going to get blown up, where it's like a wider shot, and then it doesn't zoom in, but rather it cuts to a closer in shot. And then cuts, and then cuts, and then cuts closer and closer in to emphasize that, like, this guy is in danger.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. It is then unfortunately followed by a truly ridiculous shot of the bowler, like, almost falling into the camera. It is very, very strange.
Yeah, David Tomblin. He actually was not, like, he just directed the last episode. He directed this one. He did not quite have the directorial expertise. We didn't talk about it as well, but like speaking of McGowan driving people away, right? Like Don Chaffee, who I've mentioned several times, my favorite prisoner director, and they got on for the first few ones that they did for him to like set the tone, right? So the visual language of the show. He had also been driven off by McGowan at this point, right? That's why he's not here. Otherwise, they probably would have liked him.
It's a shame.
We want to rate this episode?
We have got to rate this episode. Matthew, how do you rate The Girl Who Was Death?
Why do I have to go first? Man.
You kept taking us down tangents where you were describing different things for the listeners, so...
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss king.
That's right.
So, I as I said, this is a parody that works for me. It is. You're right. I can understand on a first watch it not working for somebody if they don't know this is a parody episode. I knew going into it, even on my first watch, it was a parody episode, so I didn't mind. And so I still think it's pretty good. But I take your point that it is weaker than it could have been, especially for new listeners, new watchers. I'm going to go with 4 out of 6 Little Napoleons. How about you?
Yeah, like, even knowing that it's parody, even understanding, like, it's setting up this idea of, oh, you think this is John Drake? I'll give you John Drake. Mm-hmm. And even, like, acknowledging that this is the prisoner playing with the format and trying to do interesting things with what can we possibly do with this show that we haven't done already. Mm-hmm. I just think that it's put together so sloppily and so like the lack of budget and the lack of production and the lack of the lack of capability, both by overwork and by expectation, is just so visible. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and especially when you consider that, like, there's so much in here that could excel. Like, you've got Kenneth Griffith here. Like, he should be in the whole show.
What if they just swapped him and Sonia?
That'd be great. That'd be so good.
Kenneth Griffith voice. Yeah.
My darling Josephine, I've fallen in love.
He's the perfect man for me.
He's the perfect man. I've killed him so good. There's just so much about it that, like, the prisoner can do well, and even the episodes that I think aren't as well put together are more coherent and more entertaining. I'm going to give this 1 out of 10 poisonous and explosive candles.
Brutal. We didn't even talk about it, but to your point, right? Like, this is a children's book that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no text in the children's book. It's just illustrations. And clearly it's because they were working backwards. They were like, well, we have these sets we can film on cheaply.
Yeah.
Let's figure out something from there.
Bizarro.
Yeah. Hey, Brendan, what are we doing next?
Next time, we watch the penultimate episode of The Prisoner, the first of a 2-parter, with a returning friendly face.
Yeah.
And some continuing experiments with what it means to be a child in the village in Once Upon a Time.
Yes. You know, if nothing else, part of why this episode sort of works for me is because it is playing into this theme of, like, children's stories and childhood, right? That has been sort of consistent throughout, right? And that will continue to be explored, as you say, in the next episode.
Until then, how do we finish this show?
We say thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you also to Cy Sweetman, who did the fantastic cover art for our show. Find his work at cyfsweetman.card.co. Thank you likewise to Devin Nelson, who made the fantastic theme song for our show, both the regular version and the spaghetti version. Find their work at devindecibel.bandcamp.com. You can find our show at the-prisoners-dilemma.com. You can find us anywhere podcasts are sold. If you're listening to us and you like the show, give us a 5-star rating.
Please.
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 We've gotten some very nice emails from people. Despite the fact that we don't advertise our emails, people have found us and given us some very nice emails. And we really appreciate each and every one of them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was maybe my fault to say that I was really easily Googleable, because that has meant that people Google me and find my email very fast.
I am very slightly less Googleable. I'm sure I've said before, but there is a sports writer, there's a spoken word artist, and there's a lawyer who threatened to assassinate other lawyers who shares my name.
Oh, good.
But if you're looking for me, you can find me at brendanmcleod.dev or brendanmcleod.com on Blue Sky. Matthew, where can people find you?
You can find me at guzdial.com. That's right. I got that one. Take that, Dad. And then we've also got me at Matthew Guz on Blue Sky.
Matthew, I'll be seeing you.
Not if I see you first. That was late. Do 42.
42. 42. For all the freaks and geeks out there, 42.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything. Let's hear it. Let's hear
it. All my Big Bang Boscos.
Big Bang Boscos?
Yeah, I've shared that clickhole quiz with you before, right?
No, you've done so many more clickhole quizzes than I have.
This is it. This is the podcast now.
This is podcast. Everybody knows this is podcast.
Here's the Big Bang Theory with more laughter added in.
That's good.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
All right, here we go.
Which Bing Bong Theory are you?
Everyone loves the bangers on the Bing Bong show, but which boing brother are you?
When you're having a Bing Bang, how do you like your boing? Silent boing, medium boing, loud boing, Basgo.
Basgo. It's got to be Basgo.
All right.
Number 2, how do you feel about your brothers? 1, they're bongos. 2, they're bangers. 3, they've got good theories. 4, I can't stand Shellman.
They've got good theories. 3, has anyone ever called you a bingo? Every day. I'm a longer. No, just Bing Bong. Sheldon really gets my boingo.
How much of a total nerd are you? Big nerd? Biggest nerd. Not a norned. Basgo.
Basgo. Let's say an attractive woman wants to know your Bing Bong theories. How do you respond? 1, tell her my theories. 2, introduce her to my brothers. 3, make a Bing Bong. 4, Basgo. Definitely Basgo.
Introduce her to my brothers, obviously. Finish this sentence. Theories are always big, never big, rarely bingo. Good.
Theories are good.
Theories are good.
Question 7. Basgo? Borsgo? Bazorgo? Brasgo? Sherland?
Oh,
Which one is
what are
it?
your results?
My results are Basgo.
I also got Basgo.
Let's go. That's why we're doing a podcast.
That's right. We're just a couple of Basgos making some theories for everyone's brothers to listen to.
Yep. Brendan, what did we do this week?
God. No, hang on. I got to do. All right. Hang on. Deep breath. Big sip of.
Big bongo.
You shake them out. We have silly energy out of the room.
You gotta be serious. The girl was death.